Coalition MPs enjoyed that, particularly the Conservatives, seated just behind George Osborne.
We've seen people cheering the deepest cuts to public spending in living memory. In living memory.
We made sure we're all in this together.
The deepest cuts in living memory.
Many people say they were misguided in how the Conservative government was claiming not to be Thatcherite, not to be against public spending or the welfare state, and at the same time the Liberal Democrats got student support by saying they pledged not to raise tuition fees and aimed to in fact abolish tuition fees in their totality in 6 years. So within this context, there's been a lot of social unrest and anger within the student body, and I think within other segments of society, namely the nurses and the fire workers, and the public transport workers, feel like a future has been robbed for their children and for themselves. This protest and this occupation happened because an extraordinary meeting was called by us, the Students' Union, so that the students could debate on what measures they wanted to take after the gigantic demonstration that happened on the 10th of October, called by the National Union of Students. One of the bodies that is lobbying against the students that are occupying is the Directorate and the highest people in the School of Oriental and African Studies, because they don't see occupation as a legitimate form of protest. Therefore, as members of the Student Union, we've been negotiating with both parties to see if the demands that the occupiers have and the demands of the management can be negotiated, and there can be compensation on both sides. Now, there hasn't been any movement after 2 days of negotiation, and so the management has decided to serve a court injunction on the students occupying. So this happened about 40 minutes ago, and they're dealing with the fact that they've been ordered to court in 2 hours. It seems like a low blow in the sense that they don't want to directly speak to the students, and on our part, through negotiation, we haven't reached much compensation on either side because the management refuses to speak to occupiers because, for whatever reason, they seem to treat them like terrorists, and they say that they're being intimidating by taking over a space of the university that is not used for lectures, it's not used for any academic purpose, and they're actually holding public lectures. They have a little library going, and they're trying to facilitate debate on the matter and concentrate members of the SOAS community to come up with a solution, or at least a stance, on the public spending cuts.
I'm a student at the School of Oriental and African Studies. Our occupation has been served with a High Court injunction, and we are now currently going to the court for the hearing to request for an adjournment, because we were only given 2 hours notice before the hearing, from the time of the serving of the injunction to the time of the hearing, which we believe is not enough time in order to prepare what we're going to say. It's not even enough time to read through the document pack that was part of the injunction. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now, that's all I can say.
At the court today, we asked for more time in order to get legal advice and get proper representation. During the court hearings today, the barrister for the university was trying to make the point that the occupation would become a focal point for protests, and that would endanger the health and safety of people involved in the occupation, and yet the students for the defence managed to persuade the judge that in fact these concerns were unfounded. The next hearing is at 2 p.m. tomorrow, which leaves us with less than 24 hours to form a defence and decide what we're doing next. We hope that the occupations that are spreading across the country can help unite the student movement and put more pressure on university management and the government to show that people will not stand for these attacks on education. We had the second court hearing that was adjourned from yesterday. We had that today at 2 p.m. We managed to find legal assistance and we got representation at the court. However, we did end up losing our appeal. Our aim was to try to get more time to delay the hearing further to get more evidence. However, the judge deemed that in the circumstances he didn't think that a viable defence could be brought to the case. We tried using the grounds of human rights, the right to protest, the right of assembly, but it seemed as though that the rights of private property won out this time. The court injunction stated that it would be, after 7 o'clock, it would then be a criminal offence to remain within the occupation, and that applied to the entire of the campus buildings at Russell Square. At a large general meeting of the occupation, it was voted on to remain in the occupation and until the bailiffs come. And there's a large feeling that we want to resist the bailiffs when they come. We don't know when the bailiffs are going to come at this point. They could be called at any point from 7 o'clock onwards. So the mood is hopeful, jovial. We had a lot of support from other occupations. We had solidarity from UCL and UEL who came tonight to express solidarity when they heard about the injunction. They came right on down. So that's very encouraging, and I get the feeling that the occupations that are spread across the country are really unifying and uniting the cause.
Innocence and dissonance gather your strength as you toil in the palace of decadence and reap what you sow, condemned from the fence. There'll be nothing for sale, nothing to rent, where nothing's the currency, where nothing is left. The divide will grow wide, money won't buy you bread.
Jeremy Corbyn MP, Islington North. I've just come from an RMT meeting at the Indian YMCA, and by unanimous vote, it was a very large meeting, they send their support, their greetings and their recognition and celebration. Tuesday morning in Central Hall, Westminster, they had the equivalent of speed dating, and they had an MP sitting at each table for 8 minutes, and then a group of sixth formers travelled from table to table. Every single one of those groups, and I saw 8 groups, asked about fees, asked about EMA. And then there was one of them was a bit of a pause, and I said, okay, there was about 10 of them around the table, how many of you want to go to university? Hands went up. How many of you think you're going to be able to get into a university? Most hands went up. How many of you can afford to go to university? No hands went up. And then one of them had been through it in a lot of detail about what all these proposals actually are, and concluded that it was impossible for he or his family to in any way afford £27,000 in fees, never mind the need to find somewhere to live and support himself during his university time. Are the generation now in Parliament, all of whom, every one of whom, either benefited from or had the opportunity of virtually free higher education, who are they to take it away from the next generation? Higher education is expensive. Yes, we all understand that. It's got to be paid for somehow. We all understand that. We also all understand that the banking crisis of 2008 was not caused by young people still in school. It was not caused by those with disabilities. It was not caused by the unemployed. It was caused by spiff bankers fiddling around with dodgy investments and currency exchanges that got the British banking system and all the others into a complete mess. And they've successfully conned every government into believing that the solution to all this is to make the poor pay for the excesses of the banking sector in 2008. Well, I've got news for them. A transaction tax would cover the deficit. A wealth tax would cover the needs of the welfare state. So why on earth are we cutting child benefit, cutting educational maintenance allowance, raising student fees, and changing we all benefit from everybody else's education. And I don't differentiate between what are euphemistically called arts courses, which Michael Gove thinks are a privilege that he, by the way, enjoyed greatly, and, those that they believe to be necessary, like engineering. Well, I need people that can understand literature and can understand and teach history, just as I need a civil engineer who can make sure a building is safe. We all benefit from a better educated society. Support all the campaigns, but bring the cause together. We don't want to save a hospital at the expense of a school. We don't want to save a school at the expense of a care home. We don't want to save a care home at the expense of a nursery. It's not one or the other. It's the totality of our welfare state that we're trying to defend. 2 weeks of student demonstrations. The Liberal Democrat MPs are already seriously rattled. Debate on fees sometime, I think, next week, and that is significant in the sense there's a debate going on, but that is not the crucial vote in Parliament. The crucial vote is when the government brings forward the necessary legislation on this, which they promised before Christmas. They didn't announce it today. Business is announced for the following 2 weeks, so logically it's the week after that we're looking at then. So we're looking at the... well, absolutely. So don't take any holidays in early December, because it's going to be necessary for you to be visiting my place of work by the river to remind me and the other 657 from whence they came and why they're denying that route to others. Thank you very much.
I don't think the judge should have been focusing on Millbank. I don't think anyone should be looking at that and looking at this and drawing connections, because there isn't a connection. Our main focus really is we don't want the fees increased, we don't want these cuts to our education. Yeah. And we're going to keep fighting for that.